Okay guys, just real quick before I start this video, I forgot to actually include one of the Phoenix games. I actually thought I had the game, but it turns out that I didn't. I only have the, big box limited edition version of it. I didn't have the regular, loose cased version. And that game is Shoot. It's a like Rocks and others, it's just a real, you know, effortless picture and title. I haven't played it yet, but yeah, I actually just forgot about this. Clumsy me. I thought I had it, but I forgot to fucking include it in the video. Its value, by the way, for this one is, you could say, like £5, and it's really common as well. So like if you are to collect PS1 and Phoenix PS1 games, it's definitely not one to worry about. This game was only released in Germany, however, it still was printed and released in large quantities. So they obviously, made a lot of copies of this game. The case, by the way, as always, will eventually be replaced. So sorry to show you such a horrible crack. But yeah, just wanted to mention that before I, show the rest of the clips of the video that I recorded a few days ago. So, yeah, enjoy. Hey guys, my name is Joe Shaw, and today I wanted to make a video about my collection of PlayStation 1 games developed and published by Phoenix Games, and also just talk a bit about Phoenix Games, and really just if you're only starting to collect PlayStation 1 games, what's at stake here. Because I mean, in my personal opinion, the biggest and most hardest challenge of all, if you're ever going to collect PAL PlayStation 1 games, is Phoenix Games. Or in case there's anyone out there who's like, you know what, I'm not just going to collect PAL NTSC PlayStation 1 games, I want to collect PAL Japanese, I want all the regions of PlayStation 1 games ever to have like every PlayStation 1 game in the world. Well, basically, this video is really just, on the most part, going to go through like the most rarest games by this specific company, and also just really just talking about like the, who Phoenix Games are, if you're just unfamiliar. So yeah, this is my collection. So I started collecting PlayStation 1 games many years ago. I've been involved in, collecting old video games ever since I was like 14, 15. And yeah, there was talk of, I'm just going to, do a kind of a show of what I have whilst I'm talking. There was talk of, between myself and other collectors around that time, yes, when I was like 15, 14, of if you were to collect for one video game system, what would it be? And it took a while to come down to it, but I kind of decided, you know what, there's too many reasons why I'd collect games for the PlayStation 1 above the likes of the Game Boy, even though I really like the Game Boy, or other examples, of consoles that were kind of more mainstream that I had when I was a kid, and stuff like that. So I really loved the idea of, back then as a youngster, of pretty much just having all of the PlayStation 1 games, but as I started collecting, as the years went on, I kind of came to the realization that there are some games that are really hard to find, And a lot of the games that happen to be really hard to find were on the most part developed or else published by the specific video games developer group called Phoenix Games. And the reason for that, there's their logo up close. The reason for that, why they're so rare, why they're so hard to find, is simply because their company really wasn't interested in making high quality games for people to enjoy. They just, saw the opportunity. How do we make as much money as possible from making as many games as possible? And that was that was their idea, of making their games. They never cared about the quality of the games. It was really just, teaming up with sort of like college student type mini companies to just develop a quick game just to publish out there, so Phoenix Games can make money. They teamed up with this little company called Dingo Pictures, and this is where a lot of the memes come from surrounding Phoenix Games. So Dingo Pictures just basically make cartoons. I haven't looked up what the company Dingo Pictures did outside of developing little cartoons for Phoenix Games, but as everyone has kind of seen, the Dingo Pictures, they made these very, very cheap kind of kids cartoons that, I don't know, they seem to be just written and just done by a very small group of, average kind of experienced people, and I mean, the cartoons, they skip the voice doesn't match with the lips of the characters. The stories don't really make much sense, and that's how they have become a bit of a meme. There is one very popular meme that came out of, Phoenix Games. I can't remember the name of it, but it just blew up. It has 60 million views on YouTube, which possibly some people who have never known about Phoenix Games have seen without knowing that it came from Phoenix Games. So that would be interesting. But yeah, so some of the games on Phoenix, made by Phoenix, is literally like this one, for example, Winky the Little Bear. It's pretty much just you turn the game on and you have three options usually. Well, four. One is for sound and audio, how loud you want the game to be. Two is the movie, which is created by Dingo Pictures. Very bad. Even children couldn't bear to watch it. It's kind of like Cool Cat sort of material, you know what I mean? It's so bad. And then the other two options really is just screenshots of the movie, which you can do a jigsaw puzzle out of, and also screenshots from the movie which you can color in. So there's screenshots of that, and also where's the jigsaw puzzle? Yeah, there it is. Doesn't even look like a jigsaw puzzle on the most part. That is how a lot of the Phoenix games were made. They were just made like that. Really just kind of, I won't use this one as an example, but let's say we'll go to where's one based off of a Disney thing. Here, this one, Legend of Mulan. It's really just kind of manipulation, the same way that people who made kind of like the reproduction carts, the fake Game Boy games, kind of use. It's sort of like a picture of Mario on the front, Super Mario, but really it's kind of just doesn't have anything to do with Mario at all. But yeah, so yeah, people would think, oh my god, that's the new Disney movie Mulan. We better go pick this game up, and it's really just a terrible movie. It's not even a game at all. And it's interesting how they got around the copyright with these games, versus Disney, because obviously Mulan, for example, is a Disney character. And there's Atlantis as well. There's like, they were very tactical with that, and it always interests me, especially with Hercules. Look, they literally just changed the name with a K for C. So yeah, other games by Phoenix, really outside of the whole Dingo Pictures area, is just simply very cheap, kind of arcade or puzzle games, just sort of developed by another company, and not by Phoenix themselves, and just there's not really a lot to them, is if that makes sense. And then even in some cases, some of the Phoenix games, really, it's just like they would use the same game, just change the name of it, So for an example, is these two in the corner here is 5-Star Racing. It's just a car racing game, and it's very simplistic. And for Truck Rally, what they did was they just replaced the cars that were in 5-Star Racing, replaced them with trucks. Exact same game, just except with trucks, and nothing else to it. So yeah, you get the idea. I don't know if Phoenix themselves ever actually developed any of their games, but on the most part, they really just relied on cheap companies just to help them out. There is one Phoenix game that is supposedly the good Phoenix game, and that is Sonic Wings Special, which actually has absolutely nothing to do with Phoenix or any of the cheap companies around Phoenix that are going to help them. This simply is just a port of a Japanese PlayStation 1 shoot 'em up, ported into Europe through Phoenix Games. So, some people are like, oh my god, this game is a good game by Phoenix Games, but it's actually not developed, or it doesn't have anything to do with Phoenix Games. It's simply just a port. So Phoenix Games, they never had any games developed or made onto the Japanese PlayStation format or the NTSC PlayStation format. Really just exclusive to Europe. I don't think they had the money to get their games onto other regions. Sorry, I said formats. I meant regions. So they had to just pretty much stick to Europe until in 2007, their whole company went bankrupt, and that was pretty much the end of them. In terms of collecting and just sort of talking to some of those people who just have the same sort of idea, you want to kind of get all the PAL PS1 games, and you're only new to sort of Phoenix Games, or you're brand new to Phoenix Games, never heard of them. This is the first time you've ever come across a video of hearing about Phoenix Games. I'm really just going to go through all of the PS1 games that I have and the value of them, and which ones you should really kind of look out for if you're really trying to go for the full PAL PS1 set, because Phoenix Games, some of their games were published and developed in mass quantities. Other ones were just barely released. There's very little numbers of them out there. And yeah, I'm pretty much just gonna show you which games are the hardest to find and which ones aren't. So you could probably take note of it and really spend a lot of time on eBay or elsewhere trying to find them, because that's what I did. And fortunately, with enough money and time and effort, I especially in the good old days when they were a lot cheaper, I managed to get them all. So I'm going to start over here in this corner. This game at the moment isn't one you should really be worried about. It's super common all over eBay. But who knows in the future? I mean, it just... Sometimes you don't know the direction some PlayStation 1 games are going to go in. Are they, going to go up or down or whatever? But usually when there's a lot of copies of a game, they're not really going to go up in value unless the game has a lot of quality to it, that it's just awesome. A lot of people are going to go mad for it. So yeah, with this one, it's pretty common. This game here, definitely take note of it. Truck Rally, especially hard to find in English. Damn it. So yeah, you can see English language. It took me, I'd say, what happened to me was at first I just was sort of like, I'll buy it in, Spanish, and then eventually I was fortunate enough to get it for about like €80 in English, but that one is pretty hard to find. Pro Backgammon, nothing, you just don't worry about that one. This one here, at one point I thought it was going to become, more increasingly rare, but it turns out that the value hasn't really changed on it since around like 2016. So I guess you could get this one for about like 20 quid, but I reckon maybe in many years to come it will just become like a lot of the other rare Phoenix games. Then this game here is very similar to Rhythm Beat next to it. Same sort of value, €20, and is, I guess you could say, the same in rarity as well. This one here, in my personal opinion, used to be one of the rarest PlayStation 1 games out there, Hercules, but all of a sudden, once the kind of once it got out there that Hercules is one of the rarest PlayStation 1 games, then all of a sudden loads of people were really rooting out for the game, and then they started to list them all up on eBay, and more copies started to show up then. So it turns out that this game in particular isn't really, really rare, but it's still hard to find. It's very expensive. It's gone up in value due to the demand. So of people looking for it. But yeah, definitely do look out for it. I would say it is one that should be written down on the list. Definitely in the top 30 rarest PlayStation 1 games to find. King of Bowling 3 is not something really to be worried about. This one here, I think, due to the, not because of the rarity, but because of the quality of the game, how many people enjoy it and like it, it's gone really high up in value. A lot of you'll notice a lot of shoot 'em up type PlayStation 1 games are quite expensive on eBay. So really not an issue of rarity, but an issue of value. Then Dalmatians 2, which is, at the moment pretty cheap, but I'm starting to see some people listing it for like £20 and stuff like that, so it sort of has gone up. Then this one here is nothing to worry about, really cheap and easy to find. This one here is probably worth about 20 the last time I saw it, mainly just because of, again, sort of rarity. around it. That one isn't one to worry about. This game I've had for years. Legend of Mulan. So I haven't checked up on it in a really long time. But the last time I saw it, it was very rare and hard to find. So definitely write that down on the list. This one here is, yeah, it's pretty much kind of very hard to find. In my opinion, I would say, like, yeah, out of the top 30 PlayStation 1 games, this one is really hard to find, because I remember just like looking and never ever seen any copies of it on eBay. This one used to be 5-10 worth around that good few years ago, but now I think there's a lot more demand for it. Toys, yeah, so yeah, quite rare. Definitely one to just take note of. Detective Mouse, probably same in rarity for toys, just sort of like, yeah, definitely one to look out for. Destructo 2 is one I haven't really, again, looked into in a very long time, but last time I did, it was worth like 20 and was sort of around, so I guess just maybe write that one down as one to look out for. This at the moment, really cheap, really easy to find. Hotshot. This game all of a sudden just went flying up in value. Like one month it was like worth about 6 to 10 pounds back in like 2016, and then all of a sudden week later it's like over 100, 200 pounds. So definitely like write that down, because it is quite hard to find as well as that. Dinosaur is very cheap. Definitely not one to look out for. Likewise for Baldies. Omega Assault is somewhat rare, but I wouldn't really worry about it too much. Rocks is another one that's quite common. This one is... It used to be just sort of rare, but now I think a lot of people just have decided to just start paying loads for it. So it's kind of gone up in value despite being sort of rare. And then likewise for Flying Squadron, it's like sort of the same deal with that. Ballerberg is still pretty cheap at the moment, and easy to find. Like, that one is probably one of the most common games made by Phoenix Games. This here is starting to go up in value and be quite hard to find as well. Cindy's Caribbean Holiday. So I'd write that one down as well. Robo Pit 2 is pretty common and cheap, so I wouldn't really worry about that too much. Likewise for All-Star Water Sports and Paradise Casino. And then these two here, this is Butsubushi. Now I remember back in like 2015 when this was like it was rare but cheap, like really rare but cheap. So it never showed up on eBay, and I bought it for like £5, so that was my copy out of the way. And yeah, now I've looked on eBay and the price is really high and there's a lot of them around, so I guess this is quite valuable, but kind of common. And yeah, and you're wondering like, why is there a similar looking game like right next to it? It's because this game only got released in Germany, and it was assumed by most kind of collectors, even like by me, that this game was only kind of released in Germany and never really kind of came outside of Germany into other countries. But I think about 2 years ago, a few people noticed that they saw like an actual Australian, what appeared to be an Australian version of Butsubushi, and I mean Australian PlayStation 1 game being released in this sort of jewel case, because that's how some Australian PlayStation 1 games were released, in jewel cases. And yeah, they, we all came across a version of Butsubushi in a jewel case that only got released exclusively in Australia and New Zealand. And this is one I only got a few months ago, or well, 1 month ago, sorry, a few months ago. And this was pretty much, I would think, my last kind of edition for collecting PlayStation Phoenix games on the PlayStation 1. So it took me quite a lot of time and money to get this. So I would say like this is one of the rarest PlayStation 1 games to find, in my opinion, in the top 10. And is definitely worth like looking out for, especially on the Australian eBay, ebay.com.au. So now onto these two here. Well, this is just something I'll mention in a second because it's kind of an extra, but this is 100% the rarest PAL PS1 game to get. Cindy's Fashion World. You're probably wondering, like, why is there kind of like what's the word, like plastic wrapper over it. It's just to kind of I guess keep it protected, just because it's kind of the most important game that anyone who's collecting PAL PS1 games should have. So yeah, this game, I mean, even back many years ago, with collecting PlayStation 1 games was extremely hard to find. And it took me, I think, at least 2 years of searching. Well, I think about a year, maybe a year and a half of searching every single day on worldwide searches on eBay to actually find a single copy that existed and like that showed up. And it's like that hard to find, and no other game really doesn't show up that less on eBay than this one. Like, some people have argued, that like maybe World League Basketball, which isn't has nothing to do with Phoenix Games, the English version of that is the rarest PlayStation 1 game, PAL PlayStation 1 game. Other people have kind of, said maybe it's another game that could be rarer than this one, but realistically, from my own personal experience, this is the one that I spent a very long time trying to find, a lot of money as well to get, and it was just hell trying to find it, and I was very fortunate to have a good friend at the time who I don't even know how managed to get it, and I had spent a lot of money, over 500, 600, to get it off him. So yeah, this game here could be worth a lot of money, which brings me on to this. Now this is a whole nother story. Maybe I'll make a separate video on it, especially because I've been talking for quite a while and the minutes are going by. But I actually happen to have yes, the rarest PlayStation 1 game, factory sealed, on the PlayStation 1. The seal isn't damaged in any way. I have it protected with this plastic box over it to keep it as secure as possible. And this is really the centerpiece of my... Alright, so I don't know how more long this is going to last, but my videos, I use an iPhone to record them on, and my iPhone happens to not have much space on it, and because it doesn't have much capacity, so I might have to switch to an older camera if it cuts out again. But yeah, this game here is just, it's incredibly hard to find. and really hard to get factory sealed. There is one thing I just want to point out. A lot of people seem to have an issue where sealed games have a rattling disc. Like this, my one does as well. And I don't like see how that's like much of an issue, because like that is going to happen to pretty much every sealed game. You know, if you buy one on the internet and it goes through the post, it's like it's going to get, you know, they're throwing your package onto ships or into transit vans, and it's going to get a bang, so it's obviously the disc is going to become loose. Like that happens to every single sealed game almost. So I noticed someone like making an issue out of it, like I think in one of the Facebook forums, and I was like, why is that such a problem? Why does that need to be, you know, like addressed or mentioned in a listing, you know, that a factory sealed game has a loose disc? But yeah, that's just my opinion. I mean, most of my sealed games have loose discs, and it's just the way it is. It doesn't affect the condition. You know, I would see an issue with a sealed PS1 game if it had a crack or if the seal was damaged, but not a loose disc. I don't understand how that's such a big deal. But that is the centerpiece of my collection. Now I will just show you these 6 here, which you're wondering, like, why are they separate from all over here, like these games? Is because with my PS1 collection, I, you know, have my games in different sections in my room, and these ones here have all like mint condition cases, so they go on the... Alright, so what's happened is my iPhone has run out of space, so I have to use this old camera which doesn't have great quality on it for late 2018, but I have a light set up. I just have to use it to finish. So these here are cracked cases, and I have them separate to the main Phoenix collection, just because you know, I don't want them to get mixed in with, you know, what has been cleaned and repaired of you know, my PlayStation 1 games collection that have good cases. These I will get to eventually, with fixing up and swapping with other games that I don't need, that I'm selling on with good cases. So yeah, Blockbuster is still pretty common, and isn't really one to worry about that much. Likewise with Winky the Bear. This game here, the last time I saw it, Silent Iron, it was getting harder to find, getting more rare and more expensive. So I would write that down. Football Madness is still quite common, and pretty cheap as well, so I wouldn't really worry about that one too much. Likewise for Jet Ace, likewise for All Star Action, and likewise for Wanted. So yeah, that's really my voice is starting to go, but that's really it. You know, just be aware that if you are going to collect PAL PS1 games, this is the biggest challenge, is Phoenix games. And now that my collection is complete, it actually is quite sad. Once you have all the games and you've played them, you know what they're all like, it's kind of like, oh, there's no more to kind of get. And that's how I'm kind of feeling right now, unless a new one kind of pops up into existence, because like these games, they're so rare that, you know, like what happened with this game here, no one really knew about it until 2017. Like new ones can just show up, you know, new editions, new versions, and then people will kind of be like, whoa, there's actually another PlayStation 1 game you kind of need to complete the set on. So yeah, until then, really, I just have all the PlayStation 1 Phoenix games. I do have these 2 games here. which aren't the main Phoenix games that were released. They're just these interesting kind of, you know, the way there's Platinum PS1 games, best of infograms, you know, value series kind of versions of PS1 games. Well, Phoenix Games had their own little version of that with a red label. I don't understand why they did that with some of their games, but they exist, and you know, they're not really part of getting the full PS1 set. They're not really different PS1 games to a normal one. They're just kind of you know, additional kind of things to have if you're into collecting Phoenix stuff. So I've got two of them here, one for Pro Backgammon and one for Dalmatians 2. So now with those red label Phoenix games out of the way, I thought I would get into these as well. And like the red label Phoenix games for the PS1, these aren't, you know, actual full versions of Phoenix games to get. They're just kind of like the same as limited editions or collector's editions pieces. So it's two versions of All-Star Action that were released, as well as 7 shoot games. There is another one for 5-Star Racing over there, which is really hard to find, and once I get that, then I'll have, I would think, all of the big box versions of Phoenix Games, collector's edition versions of Phoenix Games, you could put it that way. So yeah, don't worry, this isn't like, you know, if, for example, you're trying to get All-Star Action, you don't need to have the big box versions of it to technically have it off the list. This is just something additional that I am kind of doing with my Phoenix Games collection. So there's this here, which I got recently, which is quite hard to find, for a blue big box version for All-Star Action. So it basically just comes in a cardboard board game type box. Then I have 7 shoot games, and like most people who have this, it's still sealed. Now really on the inside it's shoot. There is a version of this game that is, you know, like loose, kind of isn't a part of this, just called Shoot, isn't part of this collector's edition, and that is also needed as part of the Phoenix Games PS1 collection. Yeah, I don't know why I forgot that one, but that is probably the one that's like missing from the video. If anyone probably who's a collector of this stuff's probably noticed that by now, but I'm still gonna go ahead with the video. It's too late to turn back. But this is the limited edition version of that game, and again it's sealed, so I can't unwrap it, but it's like the same idea. You open it up and there's kind of cardboard in the middle holding it together, like this game here. And then there is another version of All-Star Action that is in a bigger box. No idea what this is like on the inside, because mine is sealed. Well, you could say factory sealed, I guess. So yeah, it's kind of bigger, weird shape. It's all in German. Yeah, the camera quality isn't great, so you can't see the German text. But yeah, I've no idea what this is like on the inside. So then, without any more delays, I think I might just I just thought I might add this in as well. I kind of got really into just collecting Phoenix games in general in 2016.
I just wanted to just, what would it be like if I just went and just had every Phoenix game? And later on I kind of changed my mind because like the games were just so expensive. And yeah, I'll just show you what I have anyways. So I've got Guerrilla Strike, which I believe has a German rating, but it's in multi-languages on the back. I've also got Clumsy, Shumsy, Snow White and the Seven Clever Boys, which is, I imagine, is very strange. Dinosaurs, and Caveman Rock, which again has a German. Did I say, yeah? Age rating. So multi languages on the back. There is this as well, which is sealed, but I have a separate to all of these because it's not factory sealed. It's sort of like fake resealed. So I haven't opened it up. I've also got this as well that I bought, I believe on the German eBay. Shame I left it out in like a spot that would attract dust, but I have Speed Machines 3, which is like the big box limited edition for Speed Machines 3. So yeah, that's what that looks like. And then here's just my collection of everything Phoenix Games on the PlayStation 2. So you can kind of just look at the sides there. This isn't the main part of the video, so I just wanted to just show this in addition. Like what else I kind of have with Phoenix Games in general in my overall collection of games. There were a few Phoenix games released on the DS as well, but they didn't really go far with the Nintendo systems. So yeah, because it was like too late by then. 2006, 2007. That's when their company went bankrupt. But yeah, I let me think. Is there anything else really to say? I covered, most. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I think I covered most of what I wanted to say. It was really just a video to kind of, it's probably too low quality, sorry. Just to show like what I have in my collection, and just, give you people who are interested in collecting PAL PS1 games, a look at what the rarer games are to get, and what are the easy ones to get, maybe not to worry about too much. So hopefully I gathered a few names down of games to look out for as part of your list. So hopefully that does help people. It's going to take you a while. It's going to take you a really long time to search every day on eBay, but eventually with a lot of luck you could get there and get some of these games you're looking for. They are the rarest, some of the rarest on the platform of the PS1. PAL PS1. It's hard to just keep saying PAL PS1. I just get confused with the words, but so yeah, that's it. Sucks about the camera quality, but yeah, that's all I have to say. Goodbye.